What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 5 of Food for Thought Thursday. Let's grow! So on episode 4, we talked about the power of self-love and how when we grow in self-love, it enables us to be able to give off more love to other people. But today I want to focus on self-talk and the power of self-talk and how it can enable you to grow to have a better mindset, a growth mindset, and ultimately be able to also grow in self-love. The theme song for this episode is No Guidance by Chris Brown and Drake. There's a line that goes throughout the song and it starts off with Drake and he goes, "You got it, girl, you got it." And throughout the song, Chris Brown and Drake are encouraging like, "You got it, girl, you got it." And as I'm listening to that, I'm thinking, yo, that's exactly how we need to be talking to ourselves. And that's a part of self-talk. It's not just motivation. And this is why it's different from affirmations. Because when you think about affirmations, it's more so with things that I'm saying to myself in the mirror on a daily basis. While self-talk can happen while I'm in the midst of action. Okay, affirmations are something that I prepare myself for to start the day, while self-talk is about the actions. So when I'm in the midst of a conversation, I'm in the midst of a project, I'm in a game, I'm coach, whatever the case may be is, whatever life it is that you're living, and you do something, you're in action. In that moment, that's when self-talk happens. Maybe you just made a mistake. Maybe you're about to make a move. Maybe you're in the midst of a conversation and you feel some type of way. And then something happens in that moment. A thought hits your mind. And it's up to you to decide whether you want to keep that thought or not. So when I think about self-talk, I think about the term mind shifting. Because I'm literally taking control to shift my mind from allowing natural thoughts to flow through to grabbing those thoughts and shifting it and turning a negative mindset into a positive mindset. And that's where self-talk comes into play. It's deeper than just motivation, but it's actually controlling how I respond to situations and grow in self-awareness. Because I'm now choosing not only how I respond physically to something, not only how I respond verbally to something or someone, but how I respond towards myself. And the reason why this is so important is because we're doing stuff all day long. And when we're not cognizant about what's going on, our mind will do whatever it wants to do. And that can be dangerous when our mind is thinking thoughts and saying things to ourselves that contradict how we actually want to feel and act and respond. So when you think about affirmations and you think about self-talk, there's something called cognitive dissonance. And essentially cognitive dissonance is the misalignment between my thoughts and my feelings. That's the cognitive dissonance. So if I'm saying an affirmation to myself and I don't actually really feel that way about me, then the affirmation isn't really going to come true because I don't really feel it. So in order for me to be able to grow in these feelings and these thoughts when it comes to myself, I have to get my feelings on board with my thoughts and vice versa. So when it comes to self-talk and I'm in action and a thought runs through my mind, I need to be able to grab it captive. Is this what I want to dictate my feelings? And is this how I want to respond? If it's not, you got to throw that joint away. Then you have to intentionally force yourself to think something different. And this is a continual practice. This isn't something that you perfect because we're all human and we all have different thoughts and feelings and we're in different situations and stuff happens. But the more you practice it, the more you hold yourself to that specific standard, the easier it becomes. And this isn't just something kids deal with or athletes deal with, but this is something everybody deals with. And I want to put an emphasis on the mindset because what we set our mind on is going to help us set our emotions on as well. So, quick story, when I was 15 years old, I got my first tattoo. I know, my parents got on me for it. But what it says is, change negative mindset, have positive life. Now at 15, I'm thinking, if I want to have a positive life, I need to change my negative mindset. This came on the backside of not agreeing with the way one of my coaches handled the situation. And I felt angry about it. And in that moment, I knew that if I was going to have a positive life, I needed to take control of my mindset. But then it can't stop there. You then have to figure out, how do I do that? And I learned that was by having positive self-talk. So then I learned the way that I talked to myself was going to enable me to be able to change my mindset, to be able to respond the way that I wanted to, regardless of the situation. So now I've been practicing this for the last 15 years, and I've seen it's paid off in dividends. It's not always the easiest thing to do. Some situations are harder than others, but I've created the habit of being able to control my thoughts, to control the way that I respond, which helps me grow in self-awareness. So here's the trick to this. Think about talking to yourself as if you were your best friend. Grow in that relationship with yourself. So self-love and self-talk are connected, because it all has to do with you. You can't grow in self-love without growing in positive self-talk, in real self-talk, in accountable self-talk. But you have to think about what you say and how you say it. The voice, the tone of the voice, the cadence of the voice, all that is really, really important. Are you talking to yourself with grace and compassion and empathy? Or are you just so hard and critical on yourself? And so those are things to think about. And so think about when you say something to yourself, would you say it to your best friend like that? Would you say it to a teammate like that? Would you say it to a spouse, a partner, or anybody else like that? Then why would you say it to yourself like that? And oftentimes we don't really think about that. We'd say, never, there's no way I would say that to a friend. Well, then why are you saying it to you like that? And this is where it's really important to dial back in and make sure you're giving yourself what you need and what you deserve. So here's your takeaway for today. Positive self-talk can enable you to grow in self-love. It'll also enable you to create the emotions that you want. It'll enable you to be able to respond the way that you want to respond regardless of the situation, because it's action-based, while affirmations are a prehab to this. This is something that you can do in the midst of any situation, regardless of who's around, because nobody will actually see you doing it. It's a conversation that you're having with yourself. Learn how to be your own best friend. Learn how to talk to yourself the way that you would want somebody else to talk to you when you're in the midst of a situation. Learn how to coach yourself up. Learn how to guide yourself. And again, this starts with just positive self-talk. It starts with the motivation. It allows you to give yourself grace and compassion, which then will enable you to be able to give it to others. I want you to start to listen to yourself. Listen to the voices. Listen to the way that you're saying things. Think about how they make you feel when you say them. And the reason why this is important is because not every voice that you may be using to talk to yourself may be yours. Maybe you got it from somewhere else, and then now you started to latch that onto you, and now you don't even know why you say what you say. You just say it because you allowed somebody else to talk to you in that specific way. And so now you are talking to yourself in that way. Listen to the voices. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to your initial thoughts of how you respond to yourself. When you're in a situation, grab that thought captive and then reword it. Twist it around. Figure out what works best for you. This isn't necessarily how others should talk to you, but this is what works best for you, how you talk to yourself. One thing that I had to recognize for myself was I started saying this phrase, "That's what you get." And after I started saying it for a while, I realized how damaging and demeaning that small phrase is. And it usually doesn't come on the backside of doing something great. It comes on the backside of doing something bad or something very minor and small. That's what you get. And so I had to challenge myself to say, that's not how I want to talk to myself. And it's not, and it's also not how I want to talk to other people. So every time I heard myself say, that's what, I had to stop myself. And then I had to rewrite that sentence and sit back and look and say, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Or what can we learn from this situation? But it's not something that came easy, and I still haven't perfected this, but I now know that's not a phrase that when I say is something that produces positive emotions and feelings in my body. It usually is more demeaning and sends me down a more negative path than a constructive positive path. So what are some things that you say to yourself that you don't even recognize that you say? Take the time to figure out those and how you want to rewrite that narrative in your head. Then the second thing is find an area in your life that you want to be more constructive and more positive in. And then challenge yourself to be able to do it. challenge yourself to figure out, how do I become my best friend? How do I become my best coach? And I promise you, when you do that, you'll be able to see positive benefits in the way that you view yourself. You'll see yourself grow in self-love and be able to become your best friend and your best coach, because you deserve it and you're worthy. And at the end of the day, remember, you got it. Let's grow.